Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, the morning after the big storms that's blown through the whole area, all the way from Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, all the way through Missouri and other places. Fortunately, we ended up not getting too much of the severe stuff. We got a lot of rain. The creeks and the ponds and the rivers around here are just bursting at the seams. We thought we were going to get some severe weather. Our whole department and our ERT last night was all on alert, just in case this bad weather really came in, and it just kind of dissipated right at the point that it started to get to us. At least the severe part of it. But there were many other places that did get, we had tornado warnings all around us, especially as it was coming towards us. So we do know that there were tornadoes on the ground, and there has been a lot of that activity in the last few days. I don't know if you've seen, I've lost track of how many recorded tornadoes there's been in the last few days across the Midwest, but it's been significant. And there's been loss of life and lots of damage. And so please remember those folks, those families and communities in your prayers. And if there are good places to help out with, maybe there's places to donate or to give of your time, please consider doing that. I made a video yesterday over on Locals talking about how in the end, that is the key, the core of building community and building tribe, is that kindness and that love that we give of ourselves to each other. It can't be from a selfish perspective. If you go into community building, tribe, mag, whatever, with just your own selfish, intentions that you just want to have protection for yourself and you have no intentions of helping others, it's not going to work. So there has to be that kindness and that love and that self-sacrifice. And as believers, that is something very, very core to what we are supposed to do. So please consider doing that. And over the next few days, it looks like we're going to dry out a little. I think there's still a little rain in the forecast in the next couple of days, but looks like it's going to warm up. We're talking mid 80s, maybe even the high 80s a few days. So it's probably going to be steamy for a few days with all of this rain that we've gotten. And as you can see, the green has burst. It's just been an explosion of green in the last few days. We certainly had it already, but man, everything is leafed out now, and it's just, you mow your yard and then the next day it needs to be mowed again practically. So anyways, yesterday I made a video asking you, where did you see yourself? Where do you see yourself in 2025? And playing kind of off of that, I want to talk about civil war or some type of, and civil war doesn't always, that's kind of become a very general term, but I don't even know if that's exactly what we're looking at, but certainly that's a big possibility. When you start to look at how everything is starting to play out, I believe that is one of the potential goals of the far left, the elites, the globalists, the Marxists, the Satanists, whatever you want to call them. When you look at the fact that they've very openly allowed millions and millions of people into this country illegally, many of them are criminals. Many of them are coming here with the intent to do harm. It was a few years ago that one of the ministers in the Middle East, I'm trying to remember, I think it was the United Arab Emirates or one of those countries over there, was talking about Europe and the United States, of how they're allowing all of these migrants to come into our countries, and we're allowing the worst. We're allowing the criminals and the extremists and the terrorists. And the same thing has happened with countries south of the border. Look at countries like Venezuela, how over the last year or so, their crime rates have really started dropping. And while there's not necessarily some official information on this, there does indicate, there's indicators to show that a lot of these people that are coming into the United States are potentially the gang members and the criminals from those south of the border nations. And that's why their crime rates are dropping. and our crime rates are increasing. It's not because we're necessarily letting in all of the good, hardworking family type people. We're letting in a lot of criminals, a lot of gang members, and that right there plays into it. You look at this whole election cycle. Either Trump wins and the left goes crazy and they start a civil war, or Biden wins and they use that authority and the right kind of goes a little crazy and there's this conflict and there's potential civil war there. You look at all the protests that are happening right now. I read, I think it was Reuters yesterday or the day before, that said that that there's no sign in these protests, these riots, of slowing down, that they're increasing, they're building steam, and that they are following a very similar pattern of the BLM riots from 2020. The same kind of statement on this H5N1 bird flu. One of the health experts out there that was popular, I don't remember the person's name, that was kind of well known during the coronavirus pandemic, has said that this H5N1 is following the same patterns as the COVID, and that it could make the jump into humans any day now. And so that's a possibility. You look at the economy, how the economy is weakening constantly, how prices of everything is going up. Inflation is on the rise. Oil prices, gas prices, all this stuff that's happening. We're spending like just absolute craziness, and just the general tensions in the United States between different classes of people and different groups of people, pro-life versus, pro-abortion, and guns versus anti-guns, and transgender whatever versus Christianity and family and God and the Bible and all this kind of stuff. There's so much heated conflict right now, probably more so than there's ever been before. And so will 2025 potentially bring us a civil war? Or could it happen after the election, between the election and the inauguration? Could we actually see the possibility of Trump winning the election, and then before he takes office, the Biden administration trying to do all kinds of craziness in the court systems and everything else to prevent him from potentially taking the White House in January? These are all real possibilities. I mean, there was just this movie that came out in the last, I guess, week or two. I haven't seen it yet. I might watch it. I don't know. I've heard mixed reviews. Some people saying it's worthless and not to watch, and other people are saying there's some things to learn from it. But it's called Civil War. It's been a lot of talk about it over the last few months, that it's potentially a disclosure kind of movie of kind of setting the stage and conditioning the American people for a civil war here in the United States. This kind of stuff is definitely, I think, a possibility. When you look at the overall plans of the World Economic Forum, of the United Nations, and then you compare that biblically to what is prophesied with the whole beast system and this global takeover, the United States falling apart due to a civil war really fits very well with it. I'm not saying that it is going to happen. I'm certainly not making any predictions whatsoever. But I am saying that it does fit. And because I've said this for many years, that the only way for this globalist plan to happen, this new world order, is that America has to be destroyed, at least brought to her knees. As long as America is strong and independent and on her feet and at the top of the food chain, this new world order is not going to happen. It can't. And so they have to destroy America. And I believe that's why, I mean, it started before the Obamas, but it really got kicked off with the Obamas. Remember Michelle Obama, before, Barack got elected, talking about how they're going to have to change our history, change our conversation, change facts, all this kind of stuff. Well, that's what they've been doing. And they've been, pushing this Marxist atheist agenda for years now. And we're starting to see the true results from that. So I guess the question today is are you prepared for a civil war? Are you ready for that? Do you live in the right places? Because it's not going to be a civil war like the one from the 1800s, you know, the war between the states, the war of northern aggression. It's not going to be a war like that. You're not going to see one large region fighting another large region. It's going to be pockets, you know. For instance, my state of Missouri, while Missouri is, the majority of Missouri is conservative, there are certain cities in the in Missouri that are very liberal. And so there's going to be conflict there. And in fact, there are people in my own area. I mean, this is a super ultra conservative area. I mean, you know, House is still waving Trump flags and don't tread on me Gadsden flags and all kinds of stuff around here. I mean, that's just commonplace. But there's liberals around here too. And so you're going to see conflict within communities, within regions. It's going to look very much like guerrilla warfare. It's going to look like the civil wars that we've seen in countries in, say, Africa and the Middle East and down in South America. Those that you've seen maybe and learned about in history in recent decades, that's going to be what it's going to look like. It's going to look similar to South Africa. Currently, it's going to look similar to Rhodesia back in the 70s and the 80s. That's what it's going to look like, I think. And that's the kind of stuff that we have to really be preparing for. And it's not just preparing with guns and bullets. I mean, that's a huge part of it. You certainly want to have that kind of stuff. But it's also about just being self-sufficient, being able to sustain yourself, grow your own food, make your own medicines, know how to treat illnesses and injuries, water, shelter, just making things out of nothing, and then doing that as a community, not as individuals. Because if you're just going to go off on as a lone wolf, I mean, I'm not saying you're not going to survive. It's just going to be a lot harder on you. And if you can find the right place to move to, where there's good people that you can kind of pull together, build relationships with your neighbors, you're going to be a lot better off. And this is the kind of stuff we should start really planning for, because it's very possible. There could be major cyber attacks, grid attacks, supply chain, communications attacks. These kinds of things are all definitely on the table, and we should be preparing for them. You should be stocking up on stuff. If you're looking for a good quality emergency foods, freeze-dried food that's non-GMO, non-bioengineered, all natural, there is a link down in the description, the comment section below, for a great company for that. But you should be producing your own stuff, and you should be working towards that. This may be, and I've said this now for quite a while, this may be the last year that we have to do this. It could be the last year that is somewhat normal, that, you know, we look back in history and we see, yeah, 2024 was the year that things really started falling apart. If we could just go back to that year. Now, that may not be the case. I'm not making any predictions, and I don't want anyone to be terrified. I'm just saying that it is a strong possibility when you look at how things are all lining up. And I suggest strongly that you take things seriously and you get yourselves ready. However that needs to be, finding a different place to live. It may be the best option for a lot of you. Maybe you live in a horrible place to ride out this storm. Maybe it's just putting out more food. Maybe it's becoming more self-sufficient. Whatever it is, developing more skills. Whatever the thing is that you need to be doing, you should be doing it, because it's getting into that time period. I think we're about 6 months away from an election. That could be the last one we ever see. Folks, it's time to get your houses in order and to prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.